because I want to teach you demand and supply. Of course, that means there's nothing that's going to stop you from doing the same. Please switch off your phone. Switch it off. It's important. It's a serious business because I don't want to offend you. I don't want to offend you. That's why I'm saying this. Because if I collect your phone, I'm not going to do anything with it. I'll just give it to the department, and that is the end. You see, my problem with students is that if somebody asks you to do small, simple thing, you always feel like, why is he asking me to switch off my phone? But if I collect it from you, that you won't have access to it maybe for the next 1 month, you can see that you are stupid. Then that means you are stupid. Because if somebody is asking you switch off your phone just for 2 hours, and you say no, I can't switch it off. And again, let me also say this: it's very, very straight. It's not compulsory for you to be here. If you know you can't switch off your phone, because I know that's the problem with Nigerian students. Honestly, Nigerian students, that's the problem. Phone. If you know you can't switch off your phone, it's very important to you. Please leave the class now, because if I collect it, just like I said, I won't return it. I mean it. You can see that I'm not supposed to switch off my phone for you, but I've done that already. So who are you not to switch off your phone? If your lecturer decides to switch off his phone off, and you still want to put it on your phone, that means there's a problem somewhere. Honestly, there's a problem somewhere. So let's start. I'm going to spend the next 2 hours discussing economics where we stopped the last time. And of course, I still remember vividly where I stopped. I tried to explain what is meant by budget line and your preferences. I talked about utility. Where we stopped in our last class is how do we bring these two components together? Let's bring the two components together. We are bringing these two components together for a reason. What is the reason? Because of that concept of consumer equilibrium. So X2, X1. These are budget line. These are budget line. And these are our indifference curve. Indifference curve. The point of tangents here, where the two intersect, that is where consumer is what? That's consumer's equilibrium. Now, quantitatively, how do we get to this point? If you want to use mathematics, this is just a geometric explanation. If you want to arrive at this using mathematics, don't forget the fact that we started our discussion from cardinal utility and ordinal theory. We've been able to arrive at consumer equilibrium under cardinal, using cardinal utility theory. Let me just refresh your memory. Do you remember I said something like this the other day? That is, marginal utility of X when it's equal to the price of X. That is where consumer is what? It's said to be at equilibrium. This is for what? The cardinal. And the assumption here is that monetary, we have said something the other day that utility is not measurable. But some economists were divided. They have different opinions as to whether utility can be measured or it cannot be measured. But for those of them that said it can be measured monetarily, this is how they arrive at their consumer's equilibrium, by equating marginal utility of X to the price of X. Now, the other one is, of course, is ordinal utility. That is the one I'm about to derive now. Let's start. The starting point is that If you remember, let me refresh your memory. When I talk about ordinal, I said utility cannot be measured according to this set of economy. This utility cannot be measured, but it's at what? It's in an ordinal magnitude. That's what I said, if you remember, right? Meaning that you cannot measure your utility, rather you can write your utility. Is that not? If that is clear, if that is true, it then means our utility now is a function of what? Let's say X and Y. Now we have our budget constraint because under this ordinal utility, you know, I talked about budget line, right? I talked about utility, right? So the utility is this. It specifies as utility is a function of X and Y. But for the budget line, is to say that Px of X plus what? Py of Y is equal to M. But for many products, I also specify this as X1, X2, up to Xn. Up to Xn. For many products. I'm only considering just only two products here to say that only two products exist in this economy. Is that not? It's an assumption. It's an assumption. But if you believe that utility, we are not living in two commodity world, we live in many commodity world, then we have to specify our utility function as follows. Is that taken? Now, the next thing is our budget line, right? Our budget line, of course, we cannot specify our budget line like this. Why? Because we also assume two commodity. We're saying you only have your money to spend on two commodity X and commodity Y. Is that not? But it's possible for you to have, you want to spend your money on many commodity. If that is the case, summation high is equal to 1 all over n. That is, you don't even know, you cannot count the number of commodities that you want to buy. It's n, 1 to n. Is that clear? Is what? P of I and X of I. And that translates to what? This translates to P11 X1, P what? Px2 X2 plus P3 X3 up to what? Pn Xn. Px Xn minus n, or is equal to, let's say, is equal to m. Is equal to m. Is equal to m. Emmanuel, we are going to do this job together. Come. This your duster is very dirty. So help me clean this. Yes. Yes. No, clean it. But leave that part. Now, there's what we call Lagrangian multiplier. You want to set up a Lagrangian multiplier, meaning that this is our utility subject to our what? Constraint. What do you mean by constraint? We are constrained in terms of prices of the product. We are also constrained in terms of what? Money income. So if you look at this, these are prices, right? And money. You can't spend more than what you have. So we are constrained by two variables, prices and income. If that is true, let's set up our Lagrangian multiplier. What is the meaning of Lagrangian multiplier? You are going to see the usefulness of Lagrangian multiplier shortly. Lagrangian multiplier simply means it's a mathematical techniques that is used in optimization problems to find local minima and maxima of a function. Is that clear? It's a mathematical work. It's a mathematical techniques that is used to what? That is used in what? In optimization problem. What is optimization as an economist? What is optimization? What does it mean? Optimization simply means is either you are maximizing or what? Minimizing. That is optimization. If you want to be robust to non-economic students, if you don't want them to know what we're talking about, say, oh, you're just trying to optimize. You're just trying to say that it's either you are maximizing or minimizing. It's just a technical jargon. Just technical jargon. If that is true, it then means bonus set of a Lagrangian modifier for this particular equation 1 and 2. Let's say this is equation 1, this is equation 2. We then have L the whole of this. Let us use theta to represent the whole of that. Is that taking? The whole of this utility function. Let's use theta. Theta minus what? Lambda. This lambda is Lagrange multiplier. Because if you don't put this theta, we'll be able to solve this problem, this optimization problem. You won't be able to solve it. We are going to see that shortly. You're going to see that shortly. So it then means you have what? Px, right? 1 plus what? Px2 x2 up to what? P n xn minus m is equal to 0. Do you know why it is important for you to know mathematics? If you want to go further in your study, you can't survive outside Nigeria if you don't know mathematics. Honestly, you can't survive. If you want to say, I want to pursue my MSc, PhD economics, and you don't know mathematics, you are joking. You can't survive. Those of them that manage to escape, they've withdrawn from they've already withdrawn from the program abroad. I have some students like that. They say, "Okay, we can't cope." They thought it's just prose. Utility, you have to, it's mathematics. Do you know the problem we are encountering in economics? The day we allow mathematicians and physicists and chemists to what? To dabble into our business. That is the day we start having a problem. Initially, when we don't have mathematician, statistician, when we don't have those people in the economics department, we are enjoying the department. Everything is just prose. Economic can be defined, demand can be. But as soon as these guys joined the discipline, they complicated the entire thing. This is the problem now. That's the problem. That's the problem. Now, let's continue. Now, let's now differentiate with respect to x1, x2. It's going to be the L, the what? The x1 is equal to what? The theta, the what? The x1 minus lambda plus p1, equation 1. Hey, you guys are just coming. That's okay. It says that what I'm saying now. If you don't introduce this lambda, do you think we can differentiate this thing? So it's an additional what? Variable that is added, that is we incorporate into what? Into the constraints. Because if we don't introduce this constraint, this Lagrangian, we won't be able to go beyond this. In fact, I only differentiate this. I won't be able to differentiate this. But because we have Lagrangian, that's why we call it Lagrange multiplier. Lagrange. Can you spell Lagrange? You don't have to spell it. Let me spell it for you. Lagrange. Is that clear? Multiplier. Hey, Mr. Man. Hello. Switch off your phone in my class. Is that taking? Remove that thing on your. Multiplier. Lagrange multiplier. Electronic business. There's no money in lecturing room. Don't come and join us. Is that clear? Honestly, you will remain pauper throughout the rest of your life. Honestly, it's not a joke. You're laughing. Even in the US, the same thing. Even in the US. Once you join that profession, you are not likely to live an average life. Honestly, you'll be living from hand to mouth. That's the truth. I thought lecturing, even if you get to the US, it's going to be different. It's not. Don't worry. Get to US and see what I'm saying. You will see exactly what I'm saying. The same thing. lecturers in the US are very poor like us, but the only thing is that they can afford to eat conveniently without any problem. Is that clear? That is the only difference. They can live, they can afford to eat, use good car, build their own houses, which of course is our challenge here. I live in a rented apartment here in Nigeria, better than of us, honestly. So I'm only advising you, please, don't come and anyway, don't say the man.
See power and the class governor. Oya, come. Two of you come. Oya, think what you think.
Sorry. Oh.
Yes.
Px1 plus P2
like this.
you x2 dot p what nxn minus m equation 4. Equation 4. Yes. The last one. You can't see it. Okay, don't worry. I will write it. I'll put it there.
John.
The last specification is the L, the xn, n is equal to what? The theta, the xn minus theta p1 x1, p2 x2, pn xn minus m. Is that taken now? Now from equation 1. The equation 1 is what? The theta, the x1 minus lambda, p1 is equal to what? 0. The theta, the x1 is equal to lambda p1, right?
Yeah.
This one means what? Marginal utility of x1 is equal to lambda p1. Is that taken? So lambda is what? Marginal utility of x1 all over price x1. Is there any issue? I'm too fast, right? Sorry about that. I should rub up this place? Or let me rub up this place. Now, hello class. Let me start from here. Equation 1 again. Is that taking? If you are equating this one to 0, all of this will turn to 0 automatically. Is that taking? So you only have this. So it's going to be what? From equation 1. You have what? The theta, the x1 minus p1 is equal to 0. Is that taking now? I think it's clear. Now, this is equation 5. So let's solve equation 5. This is going to be what? The theta, the x1 is equal to lambda p1, right? Yes. Lambda is what now? The theta, the x1 divided by p1, right? Yes. Anything, the something, that means you are differentiating from total. If you are differentiating to total, it will turn to what? Marginal. So the whole of this place now is what? Marginal utility of x1 divided by p1. Is that clear? If you do the same thing for equation 2, what you are going to get is what? Marginal utility of x2 divided by p2. Is that taking? If you continue to do that, you have marginal utility of n divided by what? Pn. Is that taking? And now, if you are putting all these things together, you now have marginal utility of x1 p1 is equal to what? Marginal utility of x2 p2 up to what? Marginal utility of xn pn. This for many commodity case. This is what is referred to as equal marginal principle. We call it equal marginal principle. Equal marginal principle. Now, this is not where we are going. That's not where we are going. What we want to derive is what? Consumer's equilibrium. And consumer is said to be at equilibrium when the slope of the budget line equals to what? To the slope of the budget line. Indifference curve is equal to the slope of the what? Budget line. Is that taken? And that, of course, let's assume we are considering just only two products. Is that taken? If you are considering two products, it's going to be what? Marginal utility of X1 divided by marginal utility of what? X2 is equal to P1, P2. This is consumer's equilibrium. Because at this curve here, X1, X2, budget line, that point of tangency, this is where the slope of the what? The slope of the indifference curve equals what? The slope of the budget line. The two slopes meet here. And what is the slope of the budget line? Is the relative prices. P1, P2. That is the slope of the budget line. You know, we derive it the other thing. And the slope of the indifference curve is what? Marginal utility of X. All over marginal utility of X what? X2. This is the slope of the... So, where the two intersect is at this point. So, that means at the point of intersection here, the slope of the budget line is equal to the what? So, this one is what? This is the slope of the budget line. This one is what? Slope of the indifference curve. That is consumer's equilibrium. That's consumer's equilibrium. If this is clear, let's move very quickly. If you remember what I said the other day, I said we now want to derive demand curve. We are going to derive demand curve. We are going to derive demand curve under cardinal what? Theory. And another one under what? Ordinal theory. So how can we derive demand curve under this cardinal theory? That is the next thing that we want to do now. Now, don't worry, we have a lot to cover. That is why I'm rushing. We have so many things to cover. And we have to finish this class today so that another lecturer can start with you next week. Now, the cardinal theory is based on the axiom of diminishing marginal utility. It's based on the axiom of what? Diminishing marginal utility. Do you know why it's like that? It's based on what? Axiom of what? Assumption of what? Diminishing marginal utility. Meaning that as you are taking more and more of probably maybe a table water, right? As you are taking more and more, what's going to happen to your marginal utility? It gets diminishes. Is that not? So that means it's what? It's based on axiom of marginal utility. If that is true, then we have this. Total utility Q marginal utility Q. Can you see the board? No. Can you see the board now? Yes, sir. Total utility and marginal utility. Now, look at it. Assuming you have 7 bottles of water, table water to drink, is that taken? Your total utility will be what? Will be increasing. Is that not? As you are taking more, your total utility will be what? Will be increasing. You know, you'll be enjoying it. It will get to a point. What is going to happen? You get to the what? Maximum. Is that taking? Now, This is your marginal utility. As you are taking more of a table water, what's going to happen to your marginal utility? It's what? When your marginal utility, a total utility is at maximum, your marginal utility turns to what? 0. So you can see that your marginal utility will be what? Will be falling. As you are taking more of table water, what's going to happen to your marginal utility? It will be falling, right? When it gets to the maximum, what's happened to your marginal utility? It turns to 0. By the time this one starts falling, what's going to happen to your marginal utility? It turns negative. That's not where we are going. Now, we want to generate, what do we want to generate? Demand curve for this particular product. Now, how do we generate the demand curve? This is your marginal, right? Let's assume MUX3, marginal utility X3. If you trace it like this is the quantity Q3. If you trace it like this is your demand curve. This is the price. This is the Q. What happened? At this price P3, this what? Q3. Do you know why it's like that? If you remember what we said under cardinal utility, that consumer is at equilibrium when marginal utility of X is equal to the price of X. That means when the marginal utility at this marginal utility of X3, what you are paying the price. What is the price that you are paying? P3. And you are consuming Q3. Now, what happened? When your marginal utility falls to marginal utility X2, what happened? Will you pay more or less if your marginal utilities start diminishing? That is why your price now has fallen. Look at the quantity again. Q2. MUX1. What happened to your marginal utility again? Q1. Q1. Do you know the principle behind the demand curve? Is to say that as the price of a product falls, what's going to happen to the quantity demanded? Increases. If you look at the price here, it's falling. What happens to your quantity demanded? That is just the principle. You have to bear that in mind. Now, this is how we can generate demand curve under Cardinal's theory. How can we generate demand curve under Ordinal's theory? That is another question we want to answer now. And so for us to be able to answer that, you know, under ordinal theory, we are particular about two elements. What are those two elements? Utility and what? And budget constraint. Is that taken? That is your IC curve and what? And your budget line. So now, for us to be able to generate demand curve, look at it. X2, X1. This is your budget line. And this is your what? IC curve 1. At the point of intersection here, that is where consumer is what? It's maximizing utility, right? It's at equilibrium. Now, assuming the price of commodity X1 falls, what's going to happen to the quantity demanded of it? It's going to increase. That means this budget line will now pivot or tilting or pivoting or rotating. It means the same thing. It's not going to shift, it's going to pivot. If it's going to pivot, this is what you have. What is the gain? You have another budget, another what? IC curve, IC2. Is that a gain? If the price falls further, what happened again? What happened? IC3. This is referred to as what? Price offer curve. Price offer curve. Or we call it, it's also known as price consumption curve. Price consumption curve. Or price expansion path. Price expansion path. It means the same thing. You are referring to the same thing. So what is price offer curve? Let's write. Price offer curve illustrates how a consumer's price offer curves illustrates how a consumer's optimal consumption bundle. This is optimal consumption bundle. Optimal consumption bundle. It illustrates how a consumer's optimal consumption bundle changes. Changes as what? As the price of one. As the price of one good changes. What is the price of? Which of the commodity? Which price? X1, Abi. The price of X1 has changed here, right? Why that of S2 remain what? Constant. The same thing, income also remain what? Constant. That is the definition. So he said, price consumption curve illustrates how a consumer's optimal consumption bundle changes as one good changes, as the price of one good changes, holding the prices of other goods, holding the price of other goods and the consumer's income constant. Holding the what? The prices of other goods and the consumer's income constant. That is obvious, of course. If you take a look at this diagram, it's only one price that's changed here. Is that clear? What has changed here? X1. Why that of X2 remain what? Income also remain what? So that is what we call price offer curve, or we call it price consumption curve, or we call it price expansion curve. Is that taken now? Alternatively, the price offer curve traces. Look at this. Traces. What does it trace? Traces the locus of optimal consumption point. This is the locus of point. Can I say it? This is the locus. Traces the locus. I know you cannot spell this. Okay, you can spell it. I'm sorry. You are annoyed, right? Traces the locus of optimal consumption on an indifference map. What do we call it on an indifference map? When you have sets of what? Indifference curve. Is that not? Yes. On an indifference map, as the price of a good changes, as the price of a good changes, with other prices and income remaining constant. With other prices and income remaining constant. So you can say that price over curve is used to what? To derive the demand curve for this good. Price of over curve is what? It is used to what? To derive demand curve for what? For this particular good. Which good are we talking about? X1. Yes. Also, there's what we call income offer what? Curve. What is income offer curve? Let's look at this. Yes. Oh, this is fine. You see, somebody gave us a clean handkerchief. Now, here, X2, X1, right? If consumer experiences an increase in his income, what's going to happen? The budget line will what? It's not going to pivot this time around. It's going to what? It's going to shift. What happened again? What